Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie claimed Wednesday that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, I forgot to call him DeSantis, is going in the wrong direction in the GOP presidential polls. We feel like it's really moving in our direction, Christie said in an interview with Fox News' Brett Baer. Our momentum is going the right way. Governor DeSantis is going in the wrong direction. Christie was asked about recent New Hampshire GOP primary polling from Real Clear Politics, which shows former President Trump with 41.7% support, DeSantis with 17.7%, and Christie and Senator Tim Scott tied for third place with 6.7%. In response, he cited another recent NH Journal / coefficient poll that found Trump receiving 43% in the state. So it is New Hampshire. I did get it right. With Christie and DeSantis tied in second place at 9%. So our first job is to get past Governor DeSantis, New Hampshire, Christie said. Now we need to pass him, and we are going to take on Donald Trump one-on-one. While DeSantis has mostly polled in second place in the Republican primary since before even launching his campaign, the Florida governor's numbers have sagged in the past few weeks, trailing far behind the former president. Trump continues to lead in the national GOP polls by wide margins, with a recent Morning Consult poll showing him with 59%, DeSantis with 16%, and Christie tied with Scott and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. When confronted with Trump's lead in the polls, Christie said, "Look, and the campaign hasn't begun yet, Brett. The campaign is going to begin when you and Martha get on the stage with the rest of us 2 weeks from tonight," he continued, referencing the first Republican presidential primary debate, which is set for later this month. The idea that the American people are really focused on this race right now in the middle of vacation season in August around America is kind of silly, Christie added. Trump had previously signaled he is unlikely to attend the first debate, arguing that his strong polling as GOP frontrunner means he does not need to debate the other candidates. The difference it makes is for the Republican voters because it shows his complete lack of respect for Republican voters, Christie said. He thinks because he won the nomination twice that it's his. And he thinks that these numbers actually mean they approve of what he did, when in essence it's just that he's the best known person in the race, he added. The first GOP presidential debate will take place August 23rd in Milwaukee and will air on Fox News with Baer and anchor McCallum as co-moderators. So before we even get fully started, I just want to say, all the way at the end where Christie says Trump's numbers are very likely the result of him being the best known person in the race, there is a lot of credibility to that claim, because while people like myself and some of those that watch me may know who all of these people are, a majority of voters have no idea who pretty much anyone is before they run for president. And hell, a lot of them don't even know their own governor or congressman. So I have no doubt in my mind that the only names that most of these voters probably are that familiar with are probably just Trump and maybe Pence and possibly DeSantis. That's about it. I think everyone else is mostly having to deal with establishing their name recognition. I truly believe that. Obviously, we've talked before about Trump's lead is also the result of it being the Trump party, and he can pretty much do no wrong, and he's the odds-on favorite to get the nomination. But I do think some portion of that lead is being determined by more people simply knowing who he is than anybody else in the race. Now, where we get to the part where he says the campaign's going to begin with the debates and how Trump thinks since he won the nomination twice, it's his. I do believe he thinks that, because you got to remember, when Trump first ran in 2015, or I guess in 2016 technically, a lot of people dismissed him as a joke. He's going to fade. Various people said he doesn't have a chance. And he participated in those debates, regardless of being the front runner from most of the Republican primary, without issue. But I think ever since easily becoming the nominee as the incumbent president in 2020, he kind of has felt like he was owed the nomination. Like, he looks at this really high polling and he thinks, it's mine. That's it. I don't have to do anything. I could just sit here, go on TV, give a couple of interviews, call the Democrats socialist, and, talk about Biden's son and all types of other, red meat that they'll find appealing enough to sustain them for the next couple of months while they vote for me as I barely campaign. I think that's really the way he believes himself to be. And I think that it could, if he doesn't go to that debate and the other candidates, again, whether it's Christie, Pence, Haley, Hutchinson, whoever, if those other candidates are able to answer things in a way that, or otherwise present themselves in a favorable way to people who are very likely to have never heard or seen them before, it could end up backfiring on Trump. His numbers could decrease. It won't go all the way down to where he's below anybody with a lead as big as his, but it could hurt him if he doesn't take at least the formality of a debate seriously. Like, whether he gets up there and says stupid stuff, we can, that's almost a guarantee, but at least the formality of, okay, I'm going to attend all the debates like a credible candidate, that's something he should do. Now, to get to DeSantis, I got to tell you, when Christie entered this primary, I said he has no chance of winning, and I stand by that. But there's something so pathetic if you're DeSantis, like you're the guy who people really thought was going to take down Trump. You were going to be the next generation MAGA person, right? And now you're polling so bad in the second state, New Hampshire's the second state, that a person who everyone believes has no chance of winning is doing damn near just as good as you. Like Christie, if this race were the way it was back in January or February, DeSantis would be, like, if DeSantis had to be at 9%, Christie would be at like 1 or 2. But they're tied. They're like right next to each other. I mean, now as far as Christie's claim of taking Trump on one-on-one, I don't believe that. I think even if he's able to do good in New Hampshire, he's not going to do that well in Iowa. That's just my prediction, just from the polling I've seen. Again, things could change, but I just don't see him doing great in Iowa. But I gotta tell you, DeSantis really better watch out. If he's not able to do great in Iowa either, and he comes in like barely second place with Christie, or third place or fourth, he could end up getting out of this race before they even get to Super Tuesday. Because his whole thing was, I am the alternative that people know about compared to Trump. I'm the one who, when you say, if I can't have Trump, I'll have someone else, I'm the first pick. But it turns out he's really nobody's pick, because this is what happens. I guess if I could make a comparison, it kind of reminds me of when the 2020 race was first happening, and a lot of the Democratic candidates saw that Sanders was polling very well. So what they started doing, whether it was Booker or Harris or Warren or to an arguable extent Gillibrand and many of these other people, is they started to take positions that were associated with Sanders and try to prop them up as like their own brilliant idea. Sanders is for single payer? I'm for a public option. Sanders is for free college? I'm for free community college. They tried to like be the diet version of Bernie, and a lot of people said, well, why would I have the cheap knockoff, discount version when I can have the original? And a lot of people see DeSantis and many of these other people the same way with regard to Trump. Like, why have little baby, crappier, less funny, less entertaining versions of Trump as the nominee when we can just have Trump for the third presidential election in a row? A lot of them think that way. A lot of them are saying, why waste my time with baby Trump when I can have daddy Trump? And DeSantis really is the child version of Trump. He is Trump with more government experience. And he obviously leans into that culture war. Like, he picks fights that are way stupider than anything Trump got involved in, either in the White House or when he ran for president either of the previous 2 times. So he already just looks like a cheaper, weaker version of him. So I think Christie is right that DeSantis is going in the wrong direction. I don't think Christie is going to end up doing that great himself. Him and Pence and the rest of these people, I just don't think they have what it takes. But I hope I'm wrong when it comes to Christie, because, I'd rather see the anti-Trump person, I guess, come out on top than the ones that are kissing his butt like Ramaswamy. But this race has just been, it's DeSantis, if he isn't able to win this primary, I think his campaign is going to go down in history as he's going to be like the new Gary Hart, or maybe who's somebody else, like John Edwards, where, yeah, he's not done in by some weird, romance scandal, but a lot of people, like in the lead up to the election, like he's possibly going to be the front runner and he's leading in the polls. And then what happens? He runs for a little bit, something breaks out, right? All the little weird stuff with DeSantis' campaign, having to do a reset, and then he fizzles out. I take that back. DeSantis probably, if he fizzles out before we get to the voting states, he'll be a perfect allegory for Harris, because Harris was held up as some big content. She called herself a top tier candidate, didn't win a single state, didn't even make it to Iowa. So it's very realistic that he could end up leaving behind a legacy of, as far as presidential politics is concerned, getting hyped up for much of nothing. And I won't feel too bad for him, because he is very hateful. He's a coward. He's too afraid to go after Trump in any aggressive way, and I think it's backfiring on him, and I'm glad.